Tonight on Missing Persons Unit, a father of two disappears without a trace.
It's just like he's disappeared off the planet.
His fiancé and baby girls left abandoned and heartbroken.
He never moves unless he takes her everywhere he goes. Even if he's only going down the garage, he'll take Maya with him.
In South Australia, a suburban backyard becomes a potential crime scene.
Once a body decomposes, there's actually not that much material left.
Michaela Godot may have been murdered, but her brother Axel still has hope.
Just a phone call. Let us know you're still around.
The search to find a 16-year-old girl who's fallen for a man almost twice her age.
She takes people at face value, and that's a problem.
And where has granddad Wilfred Simons gone?
He takes heart tablets every day. Once again, he's missed out on that heart tablet today.
Without his medication, the race is on to find him before it's too late. Hi and welcome to our new series for Missing Persons Unit for 2008. We all know how important loved ones are in our lives, whether they're family or close friends. And when one of them goes missing, nothing matters more than finding them. And that's what these officers from our Missing Persons Units around the country do so well. During our last series alone, 19 cases were solved, making a total of 55 since the program first started. So, with your continued support and calls to Crime Stoppers, we can solve a lot more cases. And tonight's episode does just that. In Sydney's West, Steve and Mandy are on the case of 64-year-old grandfather Wilfred Simons, who disappeared from his local club.
We're heading out to Liverpool Catholic Club first. Yesterday afternoon and into the evening, even into the small hours of the night, there was a large search, and as yet the elderly male hasn't been located.
Wilfred, a retired Baptist minister, suffers from dementia and Parkinson's disease, but his health problems don't end there.
There's concerns for him because he's a frail gentleman and he takes heart tablets every day. Once again, he's missed out on that heart tablet today.
It's becoming more urgent by the minute because if Wilfred misses his next heart pill, he might not make it. Back at the Missing Persons headquarters, Adam Marsh has a runaway teenager to find.
She's gone out for the night and hasn't returned, is that correct?
Yeah.
16-year-old Jessica lives with her mum, Nicole.
She went with my niece and they went up to a friend's house and I gave them a curfew of what time they had to be home and they didn't come then. And she said she'd be home at 3:30. She's just going to see her sister who's had a baby.
3:30 p.m?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, she's got some friends that she's in regular contact with. I noticed Con, you don't know anything about this person called Con?
She had contact with this Con and she would tell me she was terrified of him and she didn't want to speak to him anymore. He's in Melbourne, but according to my niece, he was up here on Wednesday.
Did she say why she's terrified of him?
No, she just said he's creepy. He told me he was 29. He's told her he's 22.
All right, thanks very much. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay. All right, just give us a call if you do hear anything and, of course, we'll let you know as well.
Excellent.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye. That worries me quite a bit. She said she was terrified of this guy she knows. He says he hasn't seen her, but we can't confirm that, so it's a worry.
It's a Caucasian male, about 64 years old.
Meanwhile, at Liverpool, in Sydney's southwest,
with a walking stick and glasses.
Mandy and Steve are joining local police and volunteers to search for granddad Wilfred Simons. He went missing from a club next to this car park.
Our last known location's here, walking out of those doors at 1 o'clock. So what we've got to actually concentrate on is areas we searched last night. Those areas last night were done with teams trying to cover ground. but we need to get out and research where he possibly is.
This is the last sighting of Wilfred, captured on the club's security cameras. He's been missing now for 20 hours. As you can see here, while his wife was signing in, Wilfred became confused and followed a group of strangers out the door. Where he went then is anyone's guess.
12 months ago, same thing happened. He went missing, didn't take his medication. 4 hours from the time he went missing, he was unconscious. He's at the stage where he's not going to be able to speak. He won't respond. Call his name, he won't respond at all.
And that's why police are worried. If Wilfred has wandered into this thick scrub nearby, it makes the search much harder.
They got 5 search parties. From where there was a couple of possible sightings in an area, they're going to concentrate on that area first of all. Saturate that area, have a look right through it, then move on to another if he's not located.
And now they have to act fast because the temperature is expected to hit 40. So every minute Wilfred's out here could mean the difference between life and death. Meanwhile, in the case of 16-year-old runaway Jessica, Adam is heading north to Newcastle to meet her mum, Nicole Bowers.
She's only 16 years old, and it is a concern because if this guy is 29 or in his 20s, then he's got a lot more experience than she has, and he may be leading her astray.
Nicole is beside herself because she fears Jessica is with a man who's around 30.
You've spoken to this con?
I don't know anything about him. All I know is his phone number. And I know that when I spoke to him a year ago, he told me he was 33, the same age as me. But the girls told me that he's only 21. And then the other day they told me he's 25, so I don't know how old he is.
When was the last time they spoke that you know of?
Wednesday night, my niece said they spoke on Wednesday night and that he was coming to pick her up.
All right.
He goes to the local motel. Apparently he stays there when he works up that way. But I don't know how often. I believe he was up a couple of months ago. I don't know.
Unfortunately, Adam has seen this all before. Teenage girls running away with older men. And if Jessica is afraid of Con, it doesn't make sense why she'd go with him.
Did she seem, like, upset about anything recently?
No, she hasn't been any different.
Where does she like to hang out at?
Just down our local waterfront.
Local waterfront?
Yeah, we have a marina that all the kids hang around. I don't think she understands how to stay in a happy home. Like, she's used to it always being unhappy, so when it's good, she seems to create problems for herself.
Another familiar story. Confusion over where she belongs.
We want to try and contact Jessica perhaps herself, and maybe Con, if he'll answer the phone. I think he's the key to this case.
It's now 15 hours since anyone has seen or spoken to Newcastle teenager Jessica.
Let's try Con.
So Adam's been trying to reach Con, the older man Jessica might be with.
Con doesn't want to answer his phone.
The person you are calling is not available.
Yeah, they certainly aren't.
Then, just before he tries again, Adam gets a call from the office.
Hello? Yep, Sergeant Ambrose, you got some information for me?
Records show Jessica has been trying to access money, unsuccessfully.
Transaction at 5:07 p.m.
Right. Where was that at, do you know?
It was at Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Adam is now worried that without money, Jessica is being supported by the much older man.
Hello, Con, it's Constable Adam Marsh calling from the Police Missing Persons Unit.
Then, a breakthrough. In Sydney's southwest, 50 volunteers joined police in this search for Wilfred Simons, suffering from his heart condition.
Yeah, we're looking for anything sign that the person's been here, like a cane, clothing, disturbances in the grassland, crushed grasses.
Yeah, just wait here. Just hold the line for a sec.
Without his medication, Wilfred could have collapsed and be anywhere in this long grass.
Nothing in there? Oh, yeah.
While Steve's team searches the paddocks, Mandy and her team concentrate on a nearby riverbank.
It's really quite worrying because it actually is getting hotter. It's humid. We don't know if he's got water, and as far as the old saying goes, looking for a needle in a haystack, this is about as close as you get.
It's now 30 hours. Police are thinking the worst.
We're just ringing in relation to Jessica.
Meanwhile, Adam's on the phone to Con, the older man they believe holds the key to Jessica.
What did she say to you last time you spoke to her? Sorry?
And also, the man he believes is lying.
Thank you. Bye. He's telling us a pretty wild story that he hasn't been up here for years. But something just doesn't seem right with that. The information that we have is that he's been up here several times and been up here recently, as recently as last week. So somebody's not telling the truth. We've got to find out who.
It's now almost a day and a half into the search for 64-year-old Wilfred Simons, and it's reached a critical point. They now fear he could have wandered onto this major Sydney tollway.
Now moving over towards joining bushland area.
While the police air wing search the bush from above, other police go underground.
I believe this gentleman went missing last year, and when he went missing that time, he was actually located in a drain. If he's gone into any sort of low-lying area here, all the water sort of washes into the drainage system, so it's just better to be safe than sorry.
Apart from his heart condition, Wilfred suffers from dementia. It's now that police pushies are called into the search, and they spread out across walking tracks.
Pick it up.
Meanwhile, Tango the bloodhound is trying to pick up Wilfred's scent from one of his slippers. Tango's owner has volunteered to help find Wilfred.
It's uncanny how they do it. They just want to find that particular scent. He's got something, so we've just got to let him go with it. Let's just hope he's on the right trail.
Pick it up.
In the search for 16-year-old runaway Jessica, police arrived to interview Kerry Campbell, whose daughter Rebecca was the last person to see Jessica.
Hi, Kerry. Hi, Adam Marsh. Nice to meet you. We're from the Missing Persons Unit. Obviously hear about Jessica.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you could tell us when the last time you saw her was?
Be Thursday morning, about 6:20, and she left here.
Okay. How did she seem to you?
Fine. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that this would have happened. I thought she was going straight home to get ready for work.
Okay.
They did take off about 12, 18 months ago, her and Rebecca.
Okay.
But we found them within an hour or so. They were around at some boy's place where they were supposedly taking off to go to Melbourne.
Melbourne. That's where Con, the older man, lives when he's not passing through hotel rooms or flats in Newcastle.
Do you know any of her friends that live over there?
I only know of this one chap whose name's Con. But I wouldn't even know what he looked like.
Okay.
Never met him. This seems to be the thing, these boys or men or whatever you want to call them, just seem to contact by phone.
Mm.
You know, we've never actually met these people. They just contact the girls all the time. But I don't think they realise what can happen.
Thanks very much for your
Okay,
time.
no worries.
Bye.
Thank
See you later.
So now, Adam hurries over to those nearby flats in the hope of cornering Con. Back in Liverpool, Tango the bloodhound is onto something.
Just came down here. Now the scene can be dragged down by vehicles, pedestrian traffic, and a lot of the wind. And the wind is actually currently coming this way. So we're just looking for the dog to pick up the scent again. And just through subtle body language changes, I can sort of tell when he's on it.
At the same time, Steve's team is hoping locals can help.
We're searching all the houses in the area, actually, if people aren't home, having a look in their backyards just to make sure the gentleman hasn't got into the backyard. If we don't have any luck here, we'll expand the area and move outside it.
And while Steve continues his ground search, above, the police air wing switched to thermal imaging to try and pick up Wilfred's body heat.
So if he is with the aircraft, I just want to get a good look under the tree line down there. This missing person was elderly. He may have tripped before and then just come down underneath the tree.
At the same time, Tango picks up a scent, but the wind is making it difficult.
He sort of showed a bit of interest down here. He went to this dead area, showed negative interest in his body language and came back up, and he wanted to sort of head up there.
And then, what could be a major breakthrough.
Is he conscious? Okay, righto. Get wrong. Where is he? It's up on the M7, northbound.
A truckie has spotted a body lying in a ditch right next to the tollway. But is it Wilfred?
Oh, is it?
In the search for teenager Jessica, Adam's only clue is still the much older mystery man.
We don't know too much about Con, unfortunately. We do know that Jessica's been in touch with him over the last few months. We don't know how that contact's been made, whether it's been through the internet or whether it's been over the phone. But there has been some contact, and that's what her friends and family are saying. We don't know if Con is in Melbourne or if he's up here just around the corner. We don't know.
So Adam heads straight for where Con stays.
Just wondering if you've seen this girl. She's gone missing just recently, and we know that she's come to these residences before. She obviously knew somebody who lived within here. She's actually got dark hair now.
No, I haven't.
All right, if you do happen to see her or around here, or you know of anyone that knows her, like any young blokes around here that may know her, just contact the police as soon as possible.
Another dead end.
Because we're quite concerned for her. Okay. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
So now police investigate a nearby motel where Con also stays.
We're just looking for a missing girl. Her name's Jessica. Apparently she was friendly with a guy that goes by the name of Con. He may have been here about 3 months ago.
Con strikes the bell.
Mandy and Steve are racing to the side of the tollway, where a man has been found lying only metres from traffic.
Yeah, but we can't get to him from up here.
Right, let's see.
And it is Wilfred Simons.
It's okay, Wilfred. You're okay, darling, okay? The ambulance are going to come, okay, darling?
Wilfred is not responding. He's sunburnt, dehydrated and covered in ants.
It's okay, Wilfred.
He appears to be only clinging to life. The next few minutes are critical as Mandy and her team try to stabilise him. Meanwhile, at the Newcastle motel...
He would have come under the name of Con, would he, you think? Yeah.
Police are following up information that Jessica's older man, Con, stays here when he's not in Melbourne.
And nothing jumps out at me immediately as being... But the name is familiar.
Again, no joy. So, in desperation, police head to one of Jessica's favourite haunts, the waterfront.
How you going? G'day, guys. Good, sorry to bother you. Just wanted to speak to you about a missing person. Her name's Jessica. She's 16 years old. Her hair's dark at the moment. We're very concerned for her at the moment. Yeah. She's been missing for 3 or 4 days, so she's not in any trouble or anything.
Yeah.
You haven't seen her at all? Or...
No, we're repairing her.
We're from the missing persons unit. We've got a missing person, 16-year-old Jessica. That's a recent photo of her. She likes to come out and hang out down here with her friends. Looking for her everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, I see her walking around here a fair bit, yeah.
She's got shoulder-length hair. I think it's dark at the moment with orange streaks in it. Yep.
She dresses a bit outrageous for her age, so if someone was out there to target her, someone would, I'm pretty sure.
It seems lots of people know her down here, so we're in the right area, but unfortunately nobody's seen her since the day she went missing, so it's quite concerning.
Back home, her mum is more frantic than ever.
My son keeps asking where she is. And I don't know what to tell him. She's called me mum since Christmas last year. Like, I don't even consider her as a cared for child, you know. And I just want her back.
Just going to take his pulse.
Across town, the struggle to save 64-year-old grandfather Wilfred Simons is in full swing.
Is the ambulance going to come? Just get the ants off you, darling.
Parkinson's disease, dementia, a heart condition and no medication for over 30 hours. His body is going into shock.
Are you hurting anywhere, Wilfred? Honey, darling? Your ear? That's okay. It's a little bit sunburned.
Found at the side of the highway, police aren't sure if he's been hit by a car.
You're all right, sweetie. Try not to move, okay, darling?
So they can't move him in case he has spinal injuries.
Lovely. We just don't want to move you in case you've hurt something, okay?
And all the time, Mandy needs to keep talking to Wilfred to make sure he doesn't become unconscious.
You're going to be fine, sweetheart, okay? You're okay.
Because if he does drift away, they could lose him.
Ambulance are here now, darling, okay?
Paramedics are still working furiously with Mandy to save Wilfred Simons' life.
It's okay, sweetie.
Okay, just want to get these ants off.
It's just water, Wilfred.
Just water.
Oh, that.
Bit more on your mouth.
It says his ear was sore, but I don't know if it's the ants or the other side.
Sorry.
How long has he been missing for?
Since yesterday afternoon, 1 o'clock.
Oh, God love him.
So he's probably been here all night.
It's a long time without food, water or shelter. But after working on him for 30 minutes, paramedics think he might pull through.
It's okay, darling.
Mate, the good thing is he's breathing, he's alive. Mate, he's a lot better than what the condition we thought and the family probably thought that he'd be in at this stage. So it's quite good.
You're right, Wilfred.
It is good. But paramedics are still not sure if Wilfred has been hit by a car and is suffering spinal injuries.
It's all right. He's hit. He's hit. He's hit. It's okay, darling.
At South Australia's Missing Persons Unit, Detective Sergeant Paul Ward has new evidence on a 25-year-old case.
Michaela Godot was a 15-year-old girl born in Germany in 1967. Michaela arrived here in Australia in 1981 with her stepfather, her mother and 2 brothers.
When Michaela first disappeared, it made the evening news.
Just before she left, the family had decided to return to West Germany, but Michaela refused.
At first, they thought Michaela was a runaway, but after new information, they now suspect the 15-year-old was murdered.
We're going to conduct an examination of the home address with the view of finding any new evidence that is there.
Across town, scientist Ian Moffat prepares to search the backyard of Michaela's old home.
What this is a ground-penetrating radar. Basically, it just sends an electromagnetic pulse down into the ground. As you can imagine, once a body decomposes, there's actually not that much material left. So it's easier, in fact, to image the changes in the soil rather than a skeleton itself.
If Ian does find any bones, this suburban backyard will become a crime scene.
It's okay, darling. It's okay, Wilfred.
Outside Sydney, paramedics have confirmed 64-year-old Wilfred has not been hit by a car, but his condition is still critical.
Alright, Wilfred, I'm going to put this up your nose, okay? It's going to help with the pain, alright?
It's all right, darling. It's all right. They're just going to give you something for the pain, darling, all right? It's okay. That's it, darling.
And while the paramedics prepare him for hospital,
Okay, sweetheart.
Mandy is still keeping
All right,
him
darling.
calm.
It's okay.
And after 3, back again. 1, 2, 3.
You're all right, darling. There you go.
It's a great result for everyone. Wilfred has every chance of survival.
Touch your backs. You're right, darling. It's okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you realise, we've been found our missing person. On behalf of Green Valley Command, I'd just like to thank all the various sections who helped out during today and last night. We've got the SES, who's always willing to help us. I'd Also like to thank the Missing Person Unit for their assistance. You know, their help the last 24 hours, I don't think we would have found him. It turned out to be a fantastic result, not only for us, but also especially for the family and the friends of our missing person. All right, thank you all again.
Although he is critical, paramedics are quietly confident he will make it back to his family.
Well, that's great, Mandy. Great result, isn't it, eh?
And someone up there is watching that family.
Yep, and hopefully he'll be okay.
That's all right.
Back at Adelaide's Missing Persons Unit.
Okay, this is Robin Ferraro from our Missing Persons Unit.
Pleased to meet you. You too.
Michaela Godot's best friend Kay is now being interviewed.
Leading up to her disappearance, how do you feel that she was feeling? Do you think she was happy, sad? Is there anything troubling her?
She was troubled, yeah. I didn't understand a lot about it then, which I'm frustrated about now, of course. She was very unhappy, to the point where she used to cut her arms with little compasses and protractors and things. She frequently had bruises on her, and yeah, she was very unhappy.
Do you think she had anywhere to go? Did she ever talk to you about where she would go if she did run away?
No, that's the thing. I don't know where she would have gone, and part of me is fearful that maybe something more sinister's happened to her. I'm thinking maybe she may have been murdered.
After 25 years of fearing the worst, Kay just wants answers.
I just hope that someone might remember something from watching this. And if you do, no matter how small it is, please ring up and share your information, because it could just be that missing link that we need to solve it.
At the New South Wales Missing Persons Unit,
Far away, so we should be right.
Mark and Faye are working on the breaking case of David Randolph. He left his mother's home to go fishing and then vanished.
My main concerns are that David hasn't told anybody where he's going. He actually gave a lie to cover his tracks. He said he was going fishing when he never did. His fishing gear is still at home. He even spoke to his cousin, asked him to go fishing, and the cousin couldn't go. So there's some attempt to cover tracks there, which is a bit concerning. David's also got a few problems, ADHD and a few other little medical issues, and he hasn't been taking his medication. Definitely concerns in relation to his mental state at the moment.
David left his mum, Carolyn, with his 2 baby girls and fiancé.
At first, when he went missing, I didn't worry. I thought, oh, you know, new dad, stress, maybe just needed time out with the boys. Left it the next day and thought he might have got drunk, slept at a mate's place, nothing. Melissa and I had a chat and I said to Melissa, he just hasn't seen himself. He's been agitated. If the kids cried, he'd say, oh, for God's sake, I can't take much more. Yeah, anyway, didn't pay any attention, waited another day. Once Tuesday came of this week and he didn't come to get his pay, I knew there was something wrong. When I went for a drive, because we thought, won't involve the cops, you know, we'll just drive around and see if we can find him ourselves. Went to Cardiff, here's his car in the car yard. And I thought, how could he sell his car? I own it. I paid 10 grand for it, okay? Even the chamber magistrate at the courthouse said the car yard had to have known that there was something fishy when they're paying 2.5 grand for this car.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. What we'll do, the car's obviously an issue.
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
But I'm more concerned with David at the moment. So, to be obvious...
You won't find him. I'm telling you now. I don't know whether he's done a runner because he knows that I'm going to kill him over the car, and that's a possibility, or whether he's just... it's just like he's disappeared off the planet. Usually he would ring. There's been no phone call. The little girl in the chair over there, he never moves unless he takes her everywhere he goes. You know, even if he's only going down the garage, he'll take Maya with him.
That's very concerning, a bit intriguing. Mums normally know best and Mum's a bit upset. Can't really figure out what's going on here. The trick will be the car sale and what actually happened there, so we'll go down there now, try and catch them before that shut.
Mark and Faye are visiting a Newcastle car yard where 22-year-old David Randolph sold his car and vanished.
This is his actual car here. I've just had confirmation that David actually cashed the cheque that he got. So he now has cash in his pocket, which makes things very interesting and it'll make it a lot harder to trace. So we'll see what we can find out. Can you remember, David, when you come in here with the car?
We see these people every day, but yeah, he's a young fella. He seemed all right to me, I thought.
Did he seem urgent to get rid of it, or?
He did ask could he cash the cheque straight away.
Did he say anything about where he was going from here, or?
No, only to the bank.
In these sorts of cases, it's the children who suffer as well. David's fiancée, Melissa, just doesn't know how to explain to her babies why Daddy isn't home.
David, if you're watching this, if you don't want to come home, that's fine. Just ring and let someone know that you're safe. Ring me, ring your mum, ring your nan, anyone. And just to let us know and just to ring and see how the girls are.
Meanwhile, in Adelaide, Robin and Paul are meeting with the mother and brother of schoolgirl Michaela Godot, who's been missing since 1983.
Quite a number of years now since Michaela disappeared.
Yeah, it's about coming up 25 years on the 19th of December. So it's quite a few years down the track.
At the time, Michaela's stepfather was caring for her, while her mother was working temporarily overseas.
He said, oh, yes, she wasn't happy. She didn't want to stay home. She wanted to go to some friends and wanted to go to parties. There could have been conflicts because my husband didn't leave and let her go and whatever, so.
Eventually, Emmy's marriage broke down and she was left heartbroken and wondering.
I never have given up hope to seeing Michaela again or finding out what actually happened to her.
In the search for young dad David Randolph, Mark's visiting David's cousin, Darren.
How you going, mate?
The missing man claimed he was going fishing with Darren the day he disappeared.
It was about 7:45. He rang up and I answered the phone. He said, oh, you want to come for a beer today? I said, yeah, all right. He said, we're just going out to Glendale shopping. And I came back here and just haven't heard from him since. I just rang one of my mates and her son seen him 2.5 hours ago getting off a train at Hamilton.
Yeah.
So...
Did he say anything to him?
As soon as David seen Jake, he got off the train.
As soon as he saw Jake, he got off the train?
Yeah.
It's now more certain than ever that David is running from something. So Mark heads off to visit Jake to see if he knows where David was headed. "16-year-old Jessica has been missing now for 4 days. Adam suspects she's run off with a man twice her age called Con.
Hello, is this Rose?
Yeah, that's Rose. I see.
Hi,
So he's hoping her sister Rose may now know where they are.
Yeah, but how long ago has she been missing for?
4 days.
No.
Yeah, she knows you're pregnant, and she's mentioned that.
Yeah.
And she mentioned that she was coming up to see you. That's why I'm calling you.
No, I haven't seen her. She doesn't even know where I live.
You would tell police if you had seen her?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, okay then.
Okay, then.
All right, just call your local police station as soon as you hear from her, or you hear where she is, okay?
All right, then.
Thank you, Rose.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye. No, like again, this is extremely concerning. All the people that she's supposed to be going to see, she hasn't been in contact with, so it's a real worry.
In Adelaide, it's now several hours since a scientist began combing the backyard for clues to 15-year-old Michaela's disappearance.
It's quite difficult in a backyard. People do incredible things. They're digging and they're putting in gardens and burying things. So there's always going to be a lot of material here that we need to sort of sift through. But any disturbance in the subsurface is something we're interested in. It's very difficult to detect skeletal material on its own. But normally when you dig a hole, there is actually disturbance to the soil that we can see with the radar. So we're really looking for that mostly.
And while the search continues in the backyard, inside the house, her brother Axel is showing police his sister's old bedroom.
Did she share the room with anybody, or was it just her own individual bedroom?
Yeah, it was her only. I was in the room next to this room.
Even though it's been 25 years, For Axel, the pain of his sister's disappearance is still very real.
Coming here today is the strangest feeling for a long time, to say the least. Every now and then when people ask about your family, it gets a little bit awkward, but time sort of doesn't make you forget, but it makes it a little bit easier. But it doesn't go away neither.
In the search for 22-year-old dad David Randolph, Mark is meeting up with the last person to have seen him alive, family friend Jake.
You know David fairly well, do you? Yep. Is that the gentleman?
Yep.
What did you do when you saw him?
Well, I was sitting there on the back of the train and I was looking down the alley bit and he turned around and I was thinking who it might be, and then after he turned around and he took his sunnies off and I said that was David. And then the train stopped at Hamilton and he got off. I looked out the window and he was staring at me and that, and it was David.
So he recognised you?
Yep, he knew it was me. So, yeah, I don't know where I got off, but...
Didn't say anything?
No.
Hey, that was great. Jake confirmed that it was actually David that he saw on the train. So we'll head to this train station, talk to the station master and see what he can tell us.
Back at home, David's mum is still caring for his 2 baby girls and makes this plea to her son.
David, I know you've sold your car, mate, but Maya's playing up, Melissa's really bad. If you just don't want to come home and there's something wrong, can you please just contact somebody in the family and let them know you're all right? Or even Waratah Police Station. Just let somebody know that you're okay. You don't even have to tell us where you are if you don't want to. You know, we'd really like to hear from you, mate.
In the search for the gullible teenager, Jessica, Adam is visiting the teenager's workplace to see if her boss, Jenny, knows where she might be.
We're just looking for Jessica at the moment. I believe she works here.
Yes, she does.
This is a current photo of her.
Absolutely.
How well do you know her?
Quite well. She's been here for 6 months and she's become very close to the rest of the staff. Yeah.
Okay.
These closed-circuit pictures were taken just hours before Jessica disappeared. And while she looked like any other 16-year-old, she certainly wasn't behaving like one.
She's been wanting to move out of home for a while. She's been having some major difficulties in that particular area. She has asked customers, could she go and live with them?
Really?
Yep.
That's interesting information.
And worrying. If Jessica is asking to live with complete strangers, then an older man offering to support her would be just as appealing.
I'm really, really scared for her. She is such a special person, but she is a bit gullible. You know, she takes people at face value, and that's a problem. You know, she's 16, she's vivacious, and it really bothers me that something awful has happened.
In Adelaide, the search of Michaela Godot's old backyard is winding up.
We now need to take the data back to the lab, process it up and just improve the signal a little bit, bring out the results in much more detail. So we'll be looking to do that as soon as we can and then inform the police of the results of this investigation.
It's always a waiting game, except this time police are preparing for the worst.
We'll have a look at the area, may do a dig and see what we can find. It's important to eliminate or exclude and include all lines of inquiries.
And back home, Michaela's mum is still waiting for answers.
If somebody out there could please tell Michaela that her mum and her brother are still looking for her and if she could contact us.
In Newcastle, there's a breakthrough on missing dad David Randolph.
The local police put an ad in the paper asking for information, and a member of the public contacted with information, and as a result of that information, David's been located safe and well.
It turns out David left his baby daughters after an argument with his mother, and he's been hiding out at Bulahdelah, north of Newcastle. And when Mark arrives, he finds David and his fiancée Melissa have already been reunited.
I'm glad to see you okay. Had a bit of an adventure.
Oh yeah, just a little one.
So, mate, what can you tell me?
Me and Mum had a fight about a week ago on that. Like an argument and that, and I just thought, nah, we've got to get out, I'm just sick of it. And with the kids, it's hard, so thought it's time to get our own place and move on.
Things are okay with Mum?
Yeah, she's talking to us and everything. She's coming up on Saturday, so...
Yeah. What do you think about the car?
She wasn't
a very good subject.
Yeah, she wasn't too impressed about it, but...
Touchy.
Yeah.
Not exactly the most practical way to do things, but without telling anyone, David sold the family car to put the money towards a rental property.
Wave, say ta-das.
Well, that's a great result. It's good to see him back with the family. They all seem happy again, as you would be. I hope for the sake of Melissa and the children that they can work it out.
Back in Sydney, Mandy and Steve are about to share one of those rewarding moments of the job.
Rosalie. Hello, good. How are you? I'm Steve, Mandy from Missing Persons Unit.
Rosalie has been Wilfred Simons's wife for 37 years, and in recent years, his full-time carer.
These are the people that found you, darling, when you got lost. Near the M7. He looks better now, doesn't he?
He looks a lot better.
Incredibly, Wilfred's only real injuries were sunburn, dehydration and ant bites. After a couple of weeks in hospital, he was allowed home.
Yeah, he still has a bit to get over,
Yeah.
trying to drink and eat and walking.
We did start to really worry that it wouldn't have turned out as well as it did, and to see so
blessing
much
from the
better
Lord.
colour. Can see his eyes. We couldn't really even see your eyes, you poor thing. He's such in a bad way. Such a big part of us were expecting the worst as well.
That's right.
But to get to you when you were on the ground and to hold your hand, and your hand was so warm, and you held my hand so tight. In 20 years, I've been a police officer, and I'll never forget that, because I was not expecting your hand to be so warm. Like it was an amazing feeling.
It really, yeah.
Oh, it does. And like to see him now, this is just amazing to see. I know you're not well, but you look so much better than you did.
And
you're
even the
amazing,
police.
man. He's so strong.
That's right.
Incredible. Yeah, take care, Wilfred.
See ya.
Thanks, Rosalie.
Okay, darling, you have a little rest. There you go. Okay. Then we'll get you up in a minute, okay? And I'll get you something more to eat and drink.
Every year, over 30,000 people go missing. Have you seen 4-year-old Rami El Dinawi, who disappeared from Lanier, New South Wales in 2005? Or 67-year-old Peter Gadira, last seen in Narrogin, Western Australia in 1998. And 54-year-old Margaret Burney, missing from South Australia in 1988. If you have any information, please call Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Channel 9.
Tonight on Missing Persons Unit, a father of 2 disappears without a trace.
It's just like he's disappeared off the planet.
His fiancée and baby girls left abandoned and heartbroken.
He never moves unless he takes her everywhere he goes. Even if he's only going down the garage, he'll take Maya with him.
In South Australia, a suburban backyard becomes a potential crime scene.
Once a body decomposes, there's actually not that much material left.
Michaela Godot may have been murdered, but her brother Axel still has hope.
Just a phone call. Let us know you're still around.
The search to find a 16-year-old girl who's fallen for a man almost twice her age.
She takes people at face value, and that's a problem.
And she said she'd be home at 3:30. She's just going to see her sister, who's had a baby.
3:30 p.m?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, she's got some friends that she's in regular contact with. I noticed, Con, you don't know anything about this person called Con?
She had contact with this Con, and she would tell me she was terrified of him and she didn't want to speak to him anymore. He's in Melbourne, but according to my niece, he was up here on Wednesday.
Did she say why she's terrified of him?
No, she just said he's creepy. He told me he was 29. He's told her he's 22.
All right, thanks very much. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay. All right, just give us a call if you do hear anything, and of course we'll let you know as well. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye. That worries me quite a bit. She said she was terrified of this guy she knows. He says he hasn't seen her, but we can't confirm.
Finding them. And that's what these officers from our missing persons units around the country do so well. During our last series alone, 19 cases were solved, making a total of 55 since the program first started. So, with your continued support and calls to Crime Stoppers, we can solve a lot more cases. And tonight's episode does just that. In Sydney's west, Steve and Mandy are on the case of 64-year-old grandfather Wilfred Simons, who disappeared from his local club.
We're heading out to Liverpool Catholic Club first. Yesterday afternoon and into the evening, even into the small hours of the night, there was a large search, and as yet the elderly male hasn't been located.
And where has granddad Wilfred Simons gone?
He takes heart tablets every day. Once again, he's missed out on that heart tablet today.
Without his medication, the race is on to find him before it's too late. Hi and welcome to our new series for Missing Persons Unit for 2008. We all know how important loved ones are in our lives, whether they're family or close friends. And when one of them goes missing, nothing matters more than finding. Wilfred, a retired Baptist minister, suffers from dementia and Parkinson's disease. But his health problems don't end there.
There's concerns for him because he's a frail gentleman and he takes heart tablets every day. Once again, he's missed out on that heart tablet today.
It's becoming more urgent by the minute because if Wilfred misses his next heart pill, he might not make it. Back at the missing persons headquarters, Adam Marsh has a runaway teenager to find.
She's gone out for the night and hasn't returned, is that correct?
Yeah.
16-year-old Jessica lives with her mum, Nicole.
She went with my niece and they went up to a friend's house and I gave them a curfew of what time they had to be home and they didn't come then.